for the class on guidance and counseling from Islamic perspective by Dr. Mardiana Mohamad. So we can, inshallah, begin now when we begin with recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha.
Recording in progress.
So is it okay if I use this mode? I need to change the presentation mode.
If you change the presentation mode, it may be more clear.
All right.
Because the screen will be slightly bigger. Yes.
All right. So this is the presentation mode. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Rashad, for the introduction. Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Okay, I hope you can hear my voice. Yeah. All right. So today we are going to continue our discussion, our session on guidance and counseling from an Islamic perspective. Previously we talked about the nature of man, the nature of man, and the needs for guidance, the human needs for guidance. Okay, so today we are going to we will try to look for to understand what counseling is all about. Okay, especially from different scholars, the perspective of different scholars. Okay, and we are going to discuss the philosophy, the philosophical framework, of the Islamic perspective of counseling as well. So I can see that about 74 participants are here. Okay, and some of you, my colleagues also, people that I know. Okay, thank you so much. So for me, this is just like my sharing. Okay, and I'm also learning. This is what actually I enjoy to share with you. What I understand, what I learn. As well. Okay, right. Before I proceed, I remember last time there are people who are asking about the difference between counseling psychology and also counseling psychology. Okay, in my understanding, psychology is like the umbrella. Psychology is like the umbrella, and then under psychology, which is the study of the contemporary perspective, saying that psychology is a scientific study of behavior and mental processes. So there are many fields or disciplines under psychology, like we have clinical psychology, we have counseling psychology, we have child psychology, we have organizational, industrial. So counseling is one of the areas in psychology. Okay, so if we want to differentiate between counseling and counseling psychology, to me it's a very actually thin line between counseling and counseling psychology, because they originate from the same field. So whenever we the foundation of the practice actually comes from the same foundation. It's like I mean, when we try to understand people, actually, we talk the same thing. So we talk about the same thing. The nature of human beings. The theories, things like that. Actually, we refer to the same theories. We learn about the same theories. It's just that from what I read, counseling, actually, when people take counseling, they become counselors. So counselors, people who wants to become counselors, they can practice as counselors when they hold a master's degree in counseling. And usually counselors deals with psychosocial relationship issues, interpersonal issues. There's other areas that they are being trained, they specialize in those areas, to help their clients. Whereas counseling psychology, because their background is very strong in psychology, and most of them go to PhD in psychology, counseling psychology. So they are supposed to go to the deeper level. They will do psychotherapy. They can do psychotherapy. They should be trained to assess as well. That is counseling psychologists. So I think different contexts, different countries, they have different like different practice, different practice or regulation. Like in Malaysia, we have a very strong regulation about practicing counseling because we have programs at the even in the at the undergraduate level counseling, and also master's level of counseling. Only when they have they hold master's degree or undergraduate level, undergraduate degree in counseling from the accredited institution by Malaysian Board of Counsellors, then they can practice. They can register as licensed counsellors, and they can practice. That's in the Malaysian setting. So if you take psychology, still if you don't take a masters in counselling, then you cannot register, and you cannot practice as a registered counselor. Okay, so at least at the master's level, you need to have a master's degree in counseling. So I hope my explanation is clear lah. Okay, all right. So so today, we are going to talk about these two. Actually, the topics that is given to me, actually, I think if we want to have it, like a one semester course, then we can discuss as a one semester course, but because we have only 4 times, meeting, right? So I'm going to divide, slowly we are going to discuss this lah, introduction, what is Islamic counseling, and also the philosophical framework, of Islamic counseling, which is the epistemology, ontology, and axiology, and teleology, Islamic counseling. Okay, so the first part is introduction to Islamic counseling. Actually, we talk about Islamic counseling, we can say that it's a it's a growing field. Uh, okay, people become more interested, uh, to to learn and to develop, and to study, to do research and Islamic counseling, I think since this century, 21st century, right? Okay, even in the West also, okay, actually even sometimes, in the States also, with the advancement of Islamic psychology, right? Okay, and also Muslim clients, because in counseling they need to face Muslim clients. They try to you know cater the needs of Muslim clients, suitable with their belief, with the culture, the context of Muslim clients, right? So yeah. So, however, okay, so it's a rapidly growing field, but still it currently lack of universally accepted operational definition. Okay, so we cannot really find, a definition that is officially, agreed, by all, because we don't have like, like accreditation body or regulation on Islamic counseling. I think, to my knowledge, we still do not have those things. So there's still lack of clear operational definition, for the concept of Islamic counseling. although there is abundant literature discussing Islamic psychotherapy and counseling. Okay. All right. So, for example, here, okay, Zakaria and Akhir in 2016, yeah, categorize, okay, the approaches Islamic counseling into 3 approaches. Okay, the first one is traditional. Okay, traditional, um, okay, whereby the method used, the core methodology used is, the traditional approach to Islamic counseling see Islamic counseling as rooted in the psychological wisdom of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Means that when they come up with Islamic counseling, they will refer to the hadith, to the Quran. Yeah, that's Islamic counseling. Yeah, so that is traditional. They call it traditional. Okay, so they look for the prophetic guidance. Okay, and also they look for the the divine truth lah. Okay, and the second category is modification. Okay, this modification says that uh, uh, we okay, counseling is basically applicable. Yeah, the contemporary counseling is applicable. Islamic counseling is something resemble or is quite, similar, like conventional or contemporary counseling, but we need to, we need to become more culturally sensitive, yeah, religiously sensitive, yeah. So maybe we need to add, yeah, we modify in our practice, yeah. We add some values, Islamic values, yeah, yeah, in order uh, to help our Muslim clients, yeah. So we cannot 100% 100% rely on the conventional Western counseling, okay, because that is very uh, biased. Yeah, the philosophy, for example, is very biased to the uh, you know Western philosophy on Islamic philosophy. So it's not suitable with the people from different culture, right? Okay, and the third one is integrative. Yeah, so integrative is kind of it blends contemporary approach with Akidah. So Akidah, Ibadah, and Sharia. Okay, so uh, I believe that many authors try to integrate, yeah, because they believe that most, uh, I mean, I mean, uh, it is still, all knowledge comes from Allah, right? Okay, it's just that we need to integrate, yeah. With akidah, yeah, with faith. Okay, when the techniques, for example, okay, we need to include the Islamic elements in the Sharia, yeah, that is integrative. Okay. So this is a example, yeah. Right. For example, Abdullah Rahman, I believe, yeah, 2009 suggests that Islamic counseling is comparable with Western counseling, but integrates central Islamic tenets to blend counseling and psychotherapy with Islamic principles. Okay, so they practice approaches from the contemporary approaches, like CBT or person-centered approach, yeah, but they integrate, yeah, the Islamic akidah, yeah, they blend with the Islamic principles. Okay, for example, if I say, or I practice person-centered counseling, yeah, so if I want to integrate, yeah, perhaps I will be more eclectic in nature. Yeah, I would, for example, ask my client, yeah, about what about the purpose, yeah, about the purpose of life, yeah. Uh, when the client is Muslim, for example, so something that is not there, yeah, in the original approach, but what I will add, Yeah, so I still use the same elements, yeah, it's the same elements, but I add something that will be helpful, that and suitable with the Islamic principles. Okay. Right. So what is proposed then is that Muslims use the positive aspect of Western counseling, integrate it with the spiritual, and develop Islamic psycho-spiritual counseling methodologies that would facilitate positive change in Muslim clients. Okay. Uh, so, uh, so we call it Islamic psycho-spiritual counseling, right? Okay. When we integrate, yeah, the positive aspects, yeah, the useful aspect of the Western counseling, and also integrate with the spiritual, uh, right? Uh, then, in the hope that we will facilitate positive changes, yeah, in a more holistic manner, right? Okay, so that is integrate, yeah, integrative in nature. Okay, and then okay, I can see that, like I said just now, there are not many, I mean, the definition, there's no uniformity. I mean, not standardized, yeah, right? Okay. Like Pakutayan 2011 says that Islamic counseling is a process of problem solving using the Quran and Sunnah, emphasizing techniques based on confidentiality, trust, respect, good listening habits, and spiritual solutions. Okay, the ultimate goal is to connect individuals with Allah and offer spiritual solutions rooted in love and fear of Allah, as well as fulfilling responsibilities as servants of Allah on earth. Yeah, so that is by Bakutayan. Hamja and Akhir okay, says that aspect of Islamic approach to counseling and psychotherapy include akidah, ibadah, okay, worship, ultimate devotion and love for God, and akhlaq, okay, moral conduct. Okay. Okay, and then Rasul, yeah, Rasul says that okay, an application of interpersonal skills in the development of self, that is nafs, okay, intellect, akal, okay, body, jasad, and heart. Excuse me. Okay, called based on the Islamic spirituality. Okay, so it's a form, it's the personal skills uh, towards the development of self, intellect, body, heart, based on Islamic spirituality. That was Rasul's definition, yeah, in 2018 and 2020. Okay, in 2018 also, okay, Al-Karam says that a modern therapeutic approach that integrates Islamic teaching, principles, and intervention with Western therapeutic methods and psychological interventions. Okay, uh, okay, so it's also about integration. Yeah, integrate Islamic teaching, principle, intervention with Western therapeutic methods and psychological interventions. Okay, more recently, Keshavarzi, okay, 2021, okay, Keshavarzi and friends, okay, traditional Islamically integrated psychotherapy as an integrative model of mental health care, integrative model of mental health care, grounded in Islamic principles and drawing upon empirical truth in psychology. Okay, traditionally Islamically integrated psychotherapy as an integrative model of mental health care grounded in Islamic principle and drawing upon empirical truth in psychology. Okay, so I mean the background is still psychology, and it's still based on empirical evidence. Yeah, empirical evidence. Okay, so this is what Rasul, yeah, Morrison, yeah, okay, in his book says that Islamic psychotherapy is defined as a therapeutic approach that integrates Islamic spirituality and evidence-based psychology to promote holistic well-being, well-being encompassing mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Okay, all right. So still you can see that, okay, a therapeutic approach, it has to be therapeutic approach. So meaning that if we say it's a therapeutic approach, it has to have certain elements, yeah, certain techniques, yeah, that is therapeutic, yeah, that is therapeutic, and how that integrates Islamic spirituality. Yeah, we talk about Islamic spirituality, we talk about the nature of man, the needs of man, right? Okay, the relationship with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, right? Okay, our very actually close relationship with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, yeah, the divine truth, yeah, the fitrah, right? Okay, and also evidence based, yeah, it has to be evidence based, yeah. So meaning that we encourage more research. Yeah, we encourage more research. Although we say that it is Islamic counseling, yeah, it's based on Quran and Sunnah, yeah, it's based on integration, but let us do more research, yeah. I mean, to to see, yeah, to test it, yeah. All right. Uh, to promote holistic well-being encompassing mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Okay, so it's not just about mental health, it's not about social, emotional, but also it's about the spiritual health as well. Okay, so we can see here that based on the discussion based on based on the writing of scholars, right? Okay, we can see that when we talk about Islamic counseling, it involves holistic integration. What is holistic integration? Yeah, it's not just about a clinical intervention, but actually the main thing is uh, Islamic counseling is an act of compassion. Yeah, an act of compassion is an act of caring, act of empathy, act of kindness. Okay, an act of kindness, caring, compassion. Okay, and an act of ibadah, right? Okay, it's an act of ibadah. Okay, aimed at guiding individuals towards success in both this life and the hereafter. Okay, so right, so we are going to talk more about this after this, right? Okay, so Islamic counseling and psychotherapy is firmly rooted in Islamic traditions, recognizes the significance of integrating religious teaching, ethics, and spirituality into the therapeutic process. Yeah, so this is number one that we need to remember about Islamic counseling. Okay, it is an act of kindness. It is highly, it's a good deed. Yeah, it's a act of empathy, is an act of compassion, uh, and also caring, okay, and it is also an ibadah, right? It's also a form of ibadah, actually. Okay, aimed at guiding individual towards success in both this life and this hereafter. So we are guiding our clients, yeah, towards success in both this life and the hereafter. Okay, and it's a unique approach. Yeah, it is a unique approach because it acknowledges the multidimensional nature of human beings. Okay, emphasizing the interconnectedness between the mind, body, and soul. We already talked about the multidimensional nature of human being, right? Okay, in the previous class. Okay, about the roh, the nafs. Okay, the uh, the jasad, right? Okay, we also have jasad. We have not only jasad, we have the roh, nafs, akal, and also the heart, yeah, the qalb. Okay, so we are multidimensional. So we do not just focus into physical, right? We do not just focus into observable behavior, right? Okay, but we also look into, those the the elements, the nature of human beings that we cannot see as well, the spiritual dimensions, yeah, of individual's life, okay, the spiritual dimensions. So it goes beyond the physical, social, psychological, yeah, ihsas or emotional, but also it takes into account the spiritual dimension. So this is what the unique approach of Islamic counseling, right? Okay, and then Tawhid, yeah, Tawhid as the foundation of Islamic, yeah, sorry, okay, psychotherapy. Sometimes I use the word counseling, sometimes I use the word psychotherapy. Yeah, I hope you can, I will use these terms interchangeably. right? Although there are some differences, but both actually uh, is a form of helping profession, yeah, dealing with psychosocial mental health issues, right? Okay, all right. So when we talk about Islamic counseling and psychotherapy, yeah, so Tawhid is the foundation. Okay, Tawhid is the foundation. So Tawhid or monotheism, yeah, is the core concept in Islamic psychology and psychotherapy. Okay, so it emphasizes the belief in the oneness of Allah and His exclusive right to be worshipped. Yeah, so we talk about oneness of Allah. Okay, so it comes from the word Tawhid, comes from the Arabic word, Arabic verb. Okay, that is wahad. Okay, every Arabic word, yeah, means wahad means making one or asserting oneness. Okay, so in the context of counseling and psychotherapy, Tawhid underlines the interconnectedness between human well-being and recognition of the divine. Okay, so human well-being and the recognition of the divine. Okay, that is the underlying philosophy, yeah, underlying, you know, the foundation, yeah, of the Islamic counseling and psychotherapy. Okay, so we believe that Allah is our creator. We believe that Allah uh, is merciful. Yeah, we believe that Allah actually, is very close to us. Yeah, Allah loves us. Right? Okay. Allah is the one, the only one. Okay, Allah is the God. Yeah. Remember we talked about covenant last time. Okay, the fitrah as well. Yeah. So that is very important. Yeah. Recognition of the divine. Okay. Okay. So we talk about a Tawhidic paradigm. Yeah, Tawhidic paradigm. Yeah, so it means that we are in Islamic counseling, we go for spiritual alignment. Yeah, go for spiritual alignment. Allah is the ultimate source of guidance and surrendering to His will. Okay, so Allah is the ultimate source of guidance. Yeah, Allah is the ultimate. Yeah, we surrender to His will. Yeah, so um, yes, things that we tend to forget, right? Okay, as human beings, yeah, who human beings that okay tend to be forgetful, right? Okay, insan, okay, so Nasia, right? Okay, tend to be forgetful. That actually we cannot uh we cannot just focus on the material world, yeah. We live in this material world, okay. We have the material needs, okay. But there is one thing that is very important that for us to achieve well-being, that is the connection with our creator. Yeah, connection with our creator. Recently, I discussed with my son, yeah, my son, about actually who are we, yeah. Yeah, is some nowadays, yeah, teenagers, youngsters, yeah, sometimes um, we try to as parents, yeah, to educate, to bring up, yeah, our children, according to Islamic, yeah, Islamic ways, yeah. But actually our children, yeah, youngsters, actually all of us nowadays, yeah, just now we discussed, I also talked with Dr. Rashida. Actually they face a very big challenge, right? They face a very big challenge in their life because nowadays we are so occupied with technology, yeah. uh, Nowadays is digital technology, everything, just in front of us, touching the screen. We have the gadget with us, right? Okay. And then it's not easy, yeah. It's not easy, yeah. Living in this era, yeah, because we tend to be, um, you know, we tend to be tempted, yeah, we tend to be influenced, yeah, and we forget that actually that is, that is not the, um, you know, that is not the main thing in life, right? Okay, that is not the, that shouldn't be the focus in life, yeah. Okay, because we are we are not just physical being, right? We do not just have jasad, yeah. When we talk about happiness, it's not just about uh, happiness of our body, right? Fulfilling, right? What we want, right? Okay. Okay, and nowadays I sometimes, people tend to compare, right? Okay, people tend to compare everything that viral. We don't want to be left out, so like in Malaysia we have the term FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Yeah, I think it's not just Malaysia. I think right. Okay, yeah. So we tend to chase something that not our objective actually in this life, right? Okay, so we need to to align ourselves back, yeah, to realign, yeah, connect ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is actually the purpose, yeah, the purpose of our life, right? Okay, and then because if we are too occupied with those things, yeah, okay, it will never enough, yeah, it will never be enough, and there will be time that we feel empty, right? Okay, the emptiness is there, right? Yeah, or we feel the because we have the longingness, yeah, we long, and our spiritual roh, yeah, our roh actually is longing to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is, yeah, that is part of ourselves, yeah. We want to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, right. So actions and intentions as well. Okay, whatever we are doing, our behavior, right? Okay, actions, right? Okay, actually we should align our actions with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure, yeah, and adhering to His commandments. Okay, our actions, yeah. So intention, yeah, we have the intention, the niyyah, innamal a'malu bin niyat, right? Okay, so we need to have that, right? Okay, this the month of Ramadan, okay, the month of Ramadan, okay, what is our intention? Okay, so right, okay, we always connect to getting the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yeah, to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, to seek Allah's pleasure, yeah, to get Allah's blessing, to seek Allah's pleasure, right? Okay, right. So okay, and then so we need to integrate faith in all aspects of life, yeah, striving to embody Islamic values and virtues, and engage in acts of worship, prayer, Quranic reflections, and supplication to deepen one's spiritual connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Okay, so we need to integrate in our life, okay, the action, intention, behavior, yeah, always muhasabah, right? Okay, integrate faith in our life. Okay, what more? Yeah, in counseling. Yeah, in counseling also, counseling is an ibadah, right? So the the behavior such as prayers, yeah, Quranic reflections, yeah, supplications, doa, right? Actually, it will deepen, yeah, our connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? Yeah. So the importance of spirituality. Yeah, the significance of spirituality. When we talk about Islamic psychotherapy, Islamic counseling, yeah, so spirituality is very important. Okay, because it's part of human nature. Yeah, it's part of human nature, right? Okay, the spirituality is part of us. Yeah, part of us. If without the spirituality, we are not human, right? Okay, so yeah, so in Surah Al-Ra'd, yeah, Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 28. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alladzina amanu wa tatma'innu qulubuhum bidzikrillah. Ala bidzikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Right? Okay. Unquestionably, by the remembrance of Allah, the hearts are assured. Right? Okay, so in the Quran, okay, emphasize, okay, I have, mentioned about the importance of remembering Allah. Okay, by remembering Allah, okay, we will achieve sakinah, okay, inner peace. Okay, we by zikir, for example, this is just one of the verses, right? Okay, when we remember Allah through zikir, for instance, yeah, so actually is part of the spirituality, spiritual techniques, techniques, that for us, or behavior, or what we call it, actions, that help us. Actually, we are helping ourselves. Is for us to achieve inner peace. Like I mentioned to my son, actually, when we pray, when we read Quran, when we do zikir, it's not for Allah. Actually, it is to help ourselves. It's to help us because it is our need. It's part of our need, right? Okay. Okay, so people will say, oh, why I do zikir, I do salat every day, but I don't achieve peace. Maybe, maybe we can also check our, do muhasabah, whether, when we do zikir, we really understand what is the meaning of the zikir. What is the, right? Okay, what about our salat, right? Our prayers, Dr. Usman, Sheikh Usman, talks about khusyuk, okay, do we really learn to be khusyuk in our salat? Okay, do we make effort to be khusyuk in our salat, right? Okay, so it is very important for us to to share this with our children, with our family members, right? Okay, about the importance of spirituality. Not just in Islamic counseling, right? Okay, but in our daily life, in our daily life, So this can also be one of the answer. Part of the answers lah. For the question last time, can we do self counseling? I wouldn't say that it's self counseling, but I would say there is a form of muhasabah, form of, like, knowing yourself, right? Increase knowledge about yourself, right? Okay, increase knowledge about your nature, right? Okay, your needs, and also try to improve, try to internalize, what, the Islamic teaching, or to understand what we recite, for example, in the what we recite when we do salat, for example, inshallah we will be able to find peace, the inner peace, do zikir, if we really internalize it. Okay, it is not just when we face problems, so it should be our practice. We should be our practice when we are aware that it is our part of our needs. Okay, so we try to fulfill the needs of body, we always fulfill. The need of jasad, we always fulfill, but the needs of the ruh, the needs of the ruh, so we need to remember that. We need to remember, we need to fulfill, the right, and also the needs of the ruh as well, because the ruh is actually yelling, the ruh is yearning to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now we move to the philosophical framework, the epistemology, ontology, axiology, and teleology in Islamic counseling. So there's a lot of logy there. Right. So we try slowly, to understand. This is very philosophical. Even to me actually. So I try to understand, and I will share here. right? Okay, so we talk about epistemology. Yeah, epistemology, or it's like, we talk about Islamic counseling. What is the foundation? What is the engine that move us? Yeah, what is the engine that move the practice of Islamic counseling? What is the philosophy behind the Islamic counseling? So that's why we want to understand as well the epistemology. Yeah. So for example, the epistemology, it refers to the source of knowledge. Okay. So the source of knowledge. Yeah. What is our reference? Yeah. We talk about the epistemology. Actually, we in Islamic psychotherapy and counseling, we recognize multiple source of knowledge. Yeah, we recognize the multiple sources of knowledge. Okay, so right, if in the Western counseling, yeah, the source of knowledge is the observation, the empirical observation, right? Okay, uh, the rational, right? Okay, the source of knowledge, yeah. Sometimes the thing is, those call it theories, yeah. The theories, their source of knowledge is just based on their observation. Yeah, the source of knowledge based on their rationality, what they think. Yeah, when they observe their clients, and then some of them they test it. Yeah, I mean there is a scientific evidence. People do research to investigate. Yeah, to test it whether it is empirical or not. Right? Okay, it is based on evidence or not, yeah. But some actually it's lack of evidence as well, right? Lack of evidence as well. Okay, certain concept, there is lack of evidence and it's difficult to test as well. Okay, so in Islamic psychotherapy or counseling, we acknowledge both, not only the those like the research, yeah, based on research, yeah, the human intellect, yeah, based on akal, yeah, the philosophers, Muslim philosophers also, right? Okay, we acknowledge that, but also we have the Quran and Sunnah as our primary source, yeah. We call ilmu nakli, isn't it? Yeah, just now we talk about ilmu akli, right? Ilmu akli is based on the human knowledge, yeah, what human gather from their observation, their scientific observation, that is ilmu akli, yeah. How do they interpret, yeah, based on the research, okay. But we refer to the Quran and Sunnah, yeah, like the example that we talk about just now. We talk about the zikir, the importance of zikir, right? The human nature, right? Okay, so those are based on the Al-Quran, isn't it? Yeah, based on the Al-Quran, okay. And Islamic counseling is not value neutral, okay, because especially when talk about research from the uh, contemporary Western perspective, research usually is value neutral, yeah, value neutral, unless it is qualitative research. Yeah, qualitative research, they acknowledge the value, yeah, there is some value based. But if for the quantitative research, it's very much value neutral. Oh, you shouldn't. You have to be, objective, right? Things like that. Okay. But in Islamic counseling, okay, therapy is not value neutral. Okay, it is ethically guided and spiritually oriented. It should be based on spirituality. Yeah, I mean, there should be, it should emphasize the connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Yeah, it should be ethically guided. Yeah, there is moral discernment there. Yeah, it's not value neutral. Okay, so meaning that yeah, the source of knowledge is the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, we also acknowledge other sources of knowledge. So it's a multiple sources of knowledge, right? Okay, multiple sources of knowledge. Okay, so if it is not against, yeah, if it is not against the Islamic, the Quran and Sunnah, yeah, so it is, and so it is useful, right? Okay, so we can say that we can practice it lah, yeah. I mean, as so because we refer to Quran and Sunnah first, that is our primary authoritative source, and we are value laden, we are ethic laden, right? Okay, ethical laden. Okay, the second one is ontology. What is the ontology? Okay, ontology is a question about existence, questions about being. Okay, what is real? Yeah, what is real? Okay, all right. So here, questions about existence. We talk about the nature of human beings. That is looking at human as in holistic as a holistic human. Okay, that human beings encompass both physical and metaphysical aspects. Yeah, so we have, I think, in this course so far we have discussed many times the human nature, right? We have metaphysical aspects, not just physical aspect. Yeah, we something that shouldn't, I mean, uh, it has been abandoned, right? Okay, in the Western perspective, yeah, uh, because they emphasize what they can see only, right? Okay, observable behavior only, yeah. Right. So, but in uh, from the Islamic, yeah, perspective, the counseling, Islamic counseling, we recognize both, yeah, the physical and metaphysical. Okay, the nerves, the akal, the roh, the emotion, yeah, and also the corp. Okay, so meaning that the Islamic counseling focus on comprehensive framework. Okay, the we acknowledge the complexity of human life, right? Okay, how challenging it is, right? How challenging the life right now. Okay, we faced with pandemic, we faced with post-pandemic, so many things that happen in human life. Okay, but the focus in Islamic counseling is not just psychological distress, okay, which is about cognitive, yeah, and also social, but we also focus on metaphysical, yeah. Okay, so we talk about psychological distress. Actually, it involves metaphysical. There's something about metaphysical also, right? Okay, of our client that we need to focus as well. Okay, right. So healing involves realigning with fitra. Okay, so we need to realign. I think we discussed just now. Through self-reflection and introspection, clients rediscover their innate longing for the divine, foster holistic psychological and spiritual development. So we want to achieve, yeah, not just behavioral, what we call it, behavioral, emotional, and cognitive changes, positive cognitive behavioral changes, emotional changes, but also we want to achieve, help the clients to achieve holistic psychological and also spiritual development, okay, at the end of the uh, counseling, yeah. Okay, the next one is axiology, yeah. I hope I still have time, Dr. Rashad. Okay, axiology refers
Almost,
to the.
almost 10:45.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the axiology refers to the values and ethics. Yeah, so values and ethics. Yeah, so the importance of values. Yeah, so values is very important in Islamic counseling. Okay, so the therapeutic process is anchored in specific moral values. Yeah, so we encourage our clients to live in accordance with their spiritual and religious values. Values such as justice, yeah, kindness, gratitude. Yeah, we will incorporate that in the therapy. Yeah, to be genuine, to integrity, honesty, right? Okay. Yeah, because this is part of spiritual development. We want to achieve tazkiyatun nafs, right? Okay. And also, not only the clients, but the counselors also. Yeah, counselors also must have good akhlaq, right? Okay, must have good akhlaq. Not only, follow the ethics, yeah, but also akhlaq as well, have the virtuous character. So both actually, yeah. Both parties, yeah, the counselors and the clients. And last but not least is the ultimate purpose of the Islamic counseling, the teleology. We talk about what the purpose of Islamic counseling. So actually, the purpose is to orient the counseling process towards meaningful and transcendent ends. Yeah, something meaningful. Yeah, highly meaningful. So it's not just symptom reduction or feeling better, yeah, feeling relief, okay, but we want to help our client to achieve sakinah or inner tranquility and also hasanah, that is holistic well-being. And the success we want to focus on, we want to achieve is the internal success. Yeah. So ultimately, we are preparing the individual for their accountability in the hereafter, ensuring their growth leads to both worldly flourishing and eternal success. Okay, so as a conclusion, right? Okay, it's timely now, right? It's a conclusion. Okay, so we integrate, yeah. Uh, uh, we integrate. I mean, okay, so okay, so as you see here, right? Okay, so the importance of spiritual relationship with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Okay, so healing requires more cognitive tools. It requires spiritual balance and alignment with fitrah. Okay, because we have the innate disposition towards Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Yeah, in the innate needs to connect with our Creator. Okay, values like justice and compassion are the compass of the therapeutic process, and success is defined not only success or well-being in this world, hasana in this world, but also what we are accountable in the hereafter, right? Okay, so that is basically the overview of the Islamic counseling. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mardiana. Thank you. That was a very structured and well presented presentation. It's really educational to see how you tie together the spirituality with the concept of fitrah. I think I was thinking in the context of, as a Muslim psychotherapist, suddenly you have a patient or client who is not a believer, excuse me, who is not a believer at all, and you are in your clinic, and this person said, "I don't believe in God at all." And how do you start connecting with his or her spiritual side of personality? So when you brought in the concept of fitra, which is common to all humans, I could see that thread that you could start pulling from there and see how you can connect that person to the metaphysical side of reality that he can benefit from. So it's a very, I hope we have time in the coming weeks to develop some of these concepts because they are very educational. We are really learning a lot in your presentations, all of you. Jazakallah khair, Prof. Thank you so much. Prof. Osman, I can see you. Alhamdulillah. Can you hear me, Prof. Osman?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Rashad. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Nice to see you again, Prof. Osman. Ramadan Mubarak again. Please don't forget us in your dua. Okay,
Yes,
so now we can see you, but we also want to see your slides. Alhamdulillah. Yes, we can see them. Mental health, social, and mindfulness, the parameters of mindfulness. Brothers and sisters, we have already uh, listened to Prof. Osman last week. Our professor, Assistant Professor Dr. Usman Jaffer, is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at the International Islamic University, Malaysia. He started last week with mental health, khusyuk, and mindfulness. He introduced some basic concepts, and inshallah, today we will learn more as he builds on those concepts and explanation in this very important part, because khusyuk was mentioned several times by Dr. Mardiana just now. So I think we can learn more on this aspect now from Prof. Osman. Prof. Osman, فليتفضل مشكور.
جزاكم الله خيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وأصحابه بحق قدر مقدار عظيم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين. اللهم اغننا بعلمي وزينا بحلمي وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر اللهم بلغنا ليلة القدر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to meet once again. I open my heart, open my soul to all, inshallah, that we are sharing knowledge with, as I do believe that knowledge is a transaction that happens between souls. And of course, from there, the ruh, the qalb, the aql, and the mind ultimately. So last week we were focused on the first part, which is khusyuk. Uh, I think I went into the ayat and the ahadith of khusyuk, and I sort of gave a basic outline of it. Uh, Today I want to focus on mindfulness. It is Western mindfulness. We will discuss it a bit, and then I hope to have some interaction part at the end of the session. So I won't talk too much today. I'm targeting for around 25 minutes to talk, and then around 10 minutes of interaction if there's time. But let's see how we go. So mindfulness, why I need to bring up this topic, or why I've decided to slot it in here, is because many recent researchers have tried to reduce khushu to mindfulness. So they end up saying that khushu is just another type of mindfulness in salat. I am not a mindfulness naysayer. I love mindfulness as an intervention. I use mindfulness as an intervention, and I think it is very, very beneficial. However, I do feel that mindfulness is one of those trajectories that happen in our discipline, in psychology, to fill a void, yeah, that happened with 20th century desolanizing, if I can use this terminology, desolanizing psychology and making psychology very, very body orientated or bashar orientated or material orientated. So even in our sense of mind, yeah, mind or brain, we end up saying that the mind is in the brain. The mind is the product of different neurons firing in the brain, and this is your mental space that gets created. This is something that we can go back and forth about, but I don't believe this, right? As a Muslim, I don't feel this is where we need to be, and I think this is a limitation. However, we do, and I do follow through with the theme that I mentioned last time, that while khushu is a spiritually originating thing, it has a physical, yeah, it has a physical impact on our space. So thus we can measure khushu in terms of brain waves, in terms of heartbeat. So today I will focus on mindfulness. We'll revisit it because I think whoever is practicing, or if you are out there in social media, you have come across mindfulness. So this is what I plan to cover today. So definitions, dimensions, mindfulness, modern mindfulness, the pillars of mindfulness. I showed a bit of this last time. And then we'll try and reflect on it just within ourselves, because I will carry on in the next lecture going a bit deeper, right? So these are the topics. So let's go with modern definitions of mindfulness. So once again, with mindfulness, mindfulness originates, as we all know, from a religious background. This is the beauty of it, right? Even though whatever religion we have, there is a truth in there. We do believe that all religions originated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they got changed by human beings as time went along. And except for Islam, which has been preserved because God took the responsibility upon himself to preserve Islam. So Buddhism, and there are theories out there, if you are interested in this, that Buddha is claimed to be a prophet, could be one of them, right? And for those who are doing comparative religion. But once again, the West, psychology of the West went to go look for something that is missing and ends up finding this modality in the religion of Buddhism. And this is where mindfulness comes from, and this is where it was brought in back into psychology. Because remember, psychology originates with introspection, right? So it's not something foreign, but it's something that sorts of, it's taken out in the name of science and then it's brought back. So these are the definitions of mindfulness. Mindfulness is defined as present-centered, yeah, being in the moment, in the present. Awareness combined with bare non-elaborative attention. So this is the observational type of mindfulness, yeah, just observing yourself, observing your present moment, being in the present. This is something extraordinary. If we link it with Islam, for instance, of course, mindfulness won't take this as it is. But if we want to view it and start seeing connections, we've also got a present type of life, right? You live in the moment. You don't know if you will get the opportunity to pray your next salat, for instance. The future is undetermined. We know from the time that we are born that a Malikul Maut can show up at any time. So we have just got the present niyyah, innamal a'malu binniyah, the present intention, and the present action that follows. What happened yesterday is gone. We can try and learn from it. And most of all, we'll do istighfar for it. Yeah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for whatever it is that we've done yesterday, whether it be good or not good. We ask forgiveness from it because we always have the ability to do better in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So being in the present is sort of something that we have in our orientation as a religion. Today, what we do today, what we have now, what we have in this moment, what sadaqah we can give now, for instance, all of these are present. So kabadzin, awareness that emerges through paying attention. So we've got this word attention showing up on purpose in the present moment. And of course, this is something that is throughout mindfulness, non-judgmentality. So don't judge, just observe. Just observe what you are seeing. The what and how, what consciousness, yeah, what conscious awareness of the here and now. So here we've got another term that comes in. So we've got attention, paying attention, and then what is in your consciousness. So this is a discussion that we will have next week. What is our consciousness actually, right? So conscious awareness of the here and now, how an attitude of acceptance, non-judgment that shapes the experience. So accept who you are in the moment, and observe who you are. And this has therapeutic benefits of bringing you in the present moment, basically, right? So let's move to the next one. So in terms of research, especially in my area, the neurosciences, these are the researches that we try and use to gain insight into what it is. Of course, remember that Buddhism, or the original mindfulness, comes from a spiritual dimension or a spiritual dimension of the human being. So when we are trying to measure this in terms of brain, yeah, or heart, or physiological biofeedback, or whatever modality we are using, we are just getting part of the picture. We are just getting part of the picture. And therefore, we tend to, well, like with everything we do in Western psychology, we become reductionist in certain things. So if you follow the biological pathway, you become a reductionist biologically. If you follow the cognitive pathway, everything we try to explain through cognition, etc., etc. So the same thing happens here, right? So for scope definition, present-centered awareness, this is the theme, of and bear attention to body sensations, affective valence. So your emotional state, observing it. Okay, what am I feeling? Be with it. Yeah, hold the present moment. These are all words that are used. And then cognitive emotional phenomena. This we all know. The thinking behind the emotion, the emotional behind the thinking. What am I feeling? Do I label it? Or I'm supposed to be happy, does the feeling follow, right? This type of thing. And then, of course, what the external environment plays on us, how we view it, what we feel about it, what we think about it. It's extraordinary, right? That when you enter Salat, suddenly the most acute problem solving seems to happen, because the dunya ends up focusing at that juncture. When you try and, detach yourself from the dunya, then suddenly the dunya becomes. This is an interesting phenomenon, right? That happens in Salat, and there's a reason for this. So dimensions of mindfulness: self-regulated, regulation of attention. So this is one of the outcomes that we try and do, right? Direct our attention within the present moment, within our body, within a certain sphere. We've got mindful eating nowadays, right? Being in the present moment with your food and contemplating it, savoring the food, appreciating the food, all of these things. So orientation to experience, noting one's wandering thoughts. So we're allowed to wander, but note it and then sort of just observe it. Yeah. And don't try and change it. Don't try and judge it. Just observe where you're going. Observe what you are doing. This is something quite Islamic. Later on, I'll ask you if you know of any similar terms in Islam, right? So, modern mindfulness, what is the effect on an individual? So we've got, of course, psychological benefits. As I said before, I'm not denying that there is benefits to this. It is a very useful modality. So improves emotional regulation. Why? Because we get in touch with our emotions via observing them, via feeling them, via being present with them, via allowing them to be expressed, right? Not suppressing them. Bodily introspective awareness. So we are in touch with our body, we are viewing, and we will do an exercise just after this. Cognitive function. So, of course, because we are focusing our attention, our working memory seems to improve as well. And by knowing ourselves, the prosocial interpersonal behavior, we tend to appreciate others more, and we tend to appreciate our interpretation of others more. So there are many, many overlaps if we look at it from this perspective, right? With Islam, with certain parts of Islam. So Dr. Mardiana before this mentioned something about gadgets. So with gadgets, I think one of the authors about gadgets, I don't remember the name, said that the human population sort of sealed their fate of destruction, of disintegration, of annihilation in 2012. And the impactful statement that she makes after that is due to the smartphone showing up, right? So with the smartphone, if we see our brain and the amount of attention that we can pay and the amount of stimulation that we can deal with, and in nature, generally, we are mindful of everything. Yeah, if we have been taken out of our rat race environment and we go and we say we want to do a retreat in nature, for instance, we sort of become more aware of nature around us. If we're alone in a forest, we sort of adapt and we start seeing animals, we start seeing trees, we start seeing all of these things. And this is the scope of our attention, right? This is the scope of our attention. We can capture our entire environment around us, and then our brain seems to focus us into certain areas. Mindfulness, of course, is the control of this facility that we have naturally have inside of us. So we try and focus our attention to a specific moment, either within us or within a point or within a sensation, whatever it is. What gadgets have done is it stimulates us over 10,000 times per second. If we look at the refresh rate of our gadget, and the amount of information that is flashed at the same point in time. And here, when I mean information or data, I don't only mean the text that is on the screen, but it's the colors that are coming through. It is the different refresh rates of the signals that are there. All of these is being processed by our brain, right? So one of the things that mindfulness has done is to sort of mitigate this, the information attention bombardment of what is going on in our environment. And this is great. This is something that is good. Yeah. If you want to think back, I think we've got this fail safe. Yeah, I use the term fail safe, meaning that it stops you from destroying yourself. So we have this fail-safe built into our lives as Muslims already for 1400 years ago. Anyways, so in clinical, we see that mindfulness-based therapies and mindfulness cognitive-based therapies, it works extraordinary on psychological distress. It works extraordinary on other clinical issues as well. So great. These are modern influence of mindfulness, right? So these are the pillars of mindfulness. We see them in three different areas. So traditional Buddhism, which I always find fascinating, other religions as well. So memory and remembrance. Remembrance of what? Yeah, this is mindful of what? I think this is a question that we as Muslims need to ask before we adopt the intervention just by itself. The secular intervention works well. Yeah, we can use it with everybody, but we do need to go back to, okay, mindful of what? Is it just mindful of us, our self-centered mindfulness, our self-focusing mindfulness? Are we to fill our mind with ourselves, yeah, to that extent in the present moment? And of course, Buddhism challenges this. Those that are trying to bring the Buddhist aspects back into mindfulness after almost 2 decades or 3 decades of mindfulness. So memory and remembrance, memory of what? Remembrance of what? Yeah. The faculty of recalling, teaching, sati, to guide and practice. So present-centered awareness, attending to the current moment, living in the moment, being present. So we see this as something useful in our moments as well, right? Our moments. So there's nothing wrong with this stage of mindfulness, and this is not where my issue lies. So ethnicality, embedding practice within the right speech, action, intention, noble fold. So Buddhists have ethics also, right? Tapping into the ethics in the mindfulness. What is ethical? What is ethical with the self? What is ethical with the planet? What is ethical with the environment? What is ethical nature? All of these gets also reviewed while being in a state of mindfulness. Everyone else who has adopted mindfulness, and this is the secular notion of mindfulness, or treating that aspect of mindfulness uh, by itself. Yeah, this is what contemporary psychology has done. Present-centered awareness, conscious registration of moment-to-moment experience. And this is the exercise that we'll do after this. Pay attention and non-elaborative focus, and attitudinal qualities, so acceptance and non-judgment. So we just observe, very similar to the scientific method, right? Just observe. We try not to disrupt the natural setting at times, especially in naturalistic observations. Unless we're doing intervention, then of course this is a different story. So research oriented, these are the 4 pillars of research. Allowing an active, open willingness to let experiences arise, so letting experiences happen. This is something beautiful in a certain sense, but in Islam, do we have this open sense of just letting experiences happen? Is this a truth that we live with? If it is a truth that we do share, then where does it manifest itself, right? Is it as open-ended as this? So equanimous attitude, a balanced, yeah, impartial observation of experiences regardless of their pleasantness or unpleasantness. So this is something that is there as well. We look at our ma'asiyah, which is unpleasant, our bad deeds, things that we know go against God and ourselves. And we sort of experience this in the moment, and this experience leads us to turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is tawbah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He loves us in this moment when we experience that, right? That tawbah. Inna Allah yuhibbu tawwabin wa yuhibbul mutatahirin. So when you come back to that experience, that is reliving a bad experience. Yeah, and the opposite of tawbah, of course, is that goes hand in hand with the opposite. That goes hand in hand with tawbah is shukur, of course. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so these are the pillars that I showed last time at the end of the session that we had. So these are some good things, right? Non-judgment. Do we judge ourselves? Do we accept ourselves? Where is judgment warranted? Where is judgment non-warranted from an Islamic point of view? These are things we need to contemplate, actually. So do we look at the beginning as non-judgmental? Yeah, so this is a starting point. As I say, mindfulness is a starting point. But then what do we do after that? Is there judgment if you're doing bad, if you're doing something wrong, if you're doing something that is detrimental to yourself? Are we really just going to accept it without judgment? At the beginning, we'll observe it. We won't judge it. We let it play out. We let it show itself. But then what happens? This is something we ask. Patience, of course, this we need with ourselves. Yeah, in Allah ma'as sabirin, with ourselves and with our situations. There is a patience that is needed. And of course, God is most patient with us. Beginner's mind. This is curiosity of a child. This is something beautiful as well. If we look into the writings, say, for instance, of Ibn Qayyim and Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jailani, for instance, they speak about the inner child, yeah, the nafs, the pure fitra of a person being an inner child that is curious, an inner child that is wanting to learn. I think I also mentioned last time that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made wajib is something for the maintenance of the human being, right? To ensure their survival at minimum. And of course, there are things that makes it optimum and then premium. I gave 3 categories last time in the way I was speaking. So imagine why, I think here we can also ask why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that talabul ilm is fard, or looking for knowledge is wajib. Yeah. So looking for knowledge being wajib is not just something optional, it's something for survival of the human being, for them to be maintained. Right? So trust, these are all values that are in Islam, right? We can overlap there. But my issue here is, okay, so what's the limitation? Or is this enough? Yeah? These are questions that I ask. Letting go, and then gratitude, yeah, shukr is something that is there, karam that is there, and nowadays we find compassion showing up in mindfulness as well. So these are the pillars of mindfulness that we have. Are they workable, Islam? Definitely. We can work with them, right? No issue here. If we go to the philosophical teachings of Buddhism, of course, Buddhist ethics is different to Islam, but do we substitute with Islamic ethics? Yes, we can do that. There's no issue there. So let's move forward. So this is a mindfulness session. I won't let it go for 5 minutes because my time is short. So I'll give you around 1 to 2 minutes of this. I think many of us have experienced something like this. So just for those who have not been in the realm of mindfulness, you can just experience some of it. I don't know if you can hear.
Begin this mindfulness meditation. Just let yourself get into a comfortable position, whatever that looks like for you.
You can increase the volume if you can.
Is the volume okay?
When your body feels ready, you may gently close your eyes.
Yes.
With your eyes closed, take a moment to tune inwards. First, simply noticing your body, tuning into the weight of gravity, the points of contact between you and the surface on which you are resting. What else do you notice? What is it like for you to be in your body right now? As you observe this, you simply accept and allow whatever it is you notice, harboring no judgment, Just be mindful, noticing what is with a sense of compassion in your heart and letting it be. Continue to do this now with your breath as well as your body. If you haven't already, begin to tune into the sensations of breathing. What do you notice? Just observe, accept, and allow. No judgment. Just letting everything be how it is. As you stay mindful of your breath and your body with a sense of compassion in your heart. Your eyes closed, you allow your awareness to expand to include the space around your body.
Okay, so I think this is sort of enough to give you an introduction of how mindfulness is. I wish I could go for the full 5 minutes because then it expands right to the environment. But I want to move on to interact with you a bit later on, just to have a two-way sort of discussion. So these are the different type of mindfulness that we have at present, right? So traditional sati, this includes memory, thinking of the past, thinking of concepts, thinking of whatever it is before, present awareness, and ethics. Ethics, as I mentioned before. So Buddhist mindfulness is spiritually, ethically grounded, memory informed, cultivate awareness, contemporary psychological mindfulness, secular. I think this is a concept that has happened everywhere, the secular nature. So secular in concepts, I think in our social sciences, we go secular in concepts, right? Taking out the root and then just having the superfluous outer shell of whatever's left at times. In medicine also, we sort of have become secular, where we intervene with something very specific. We need to increase vitamin C, for instance. So we have supplements for vitamin C in a body that requires or that doesn't work just on vitamin C. So we have a whole complex system that is there, and we come and we intervene. While it helps for the moment, if there's a deficiency, it makes us feel better. But as we go on in time and we're not taking care of the entire system, and this is systems approach also that is very, very common nowadays. We look at families also in systems, no longer individuals only, but a system approach, right? So if we look at this in this sense as well, wherever we have sort of secularized, whether it be scientific secularization or philosophical secularization, we end up having something good that works for a while, works for a dimension or domain, but it seems to help for that particular area only, and it doesn't improve everything else, or it doesn't balance out many other things. So we end up having to take a multivitamin plus vitamin C plus vitamin D plus the Panadol to reduce the pain that comes with later on, right? So a similar thing has happened in our mental health domain. So while we as scientists, practitioners, we do tend to focus on one thing at a time because that's the area that we are capable of doing. We need to understand that we have a whole system that we are dealing with at the end of the day, right? So contemporary psychology, present-centered awareness, non-judgment. Just look at what your body is doing, observe it, be aware of it, bring it into your conscious space. Interact with it in that way, right? Through observation, so that it becomes a part of your mental existence, your conscious awareness. Yeah? Meditation styles, attention, top-down focus on a selected object, for instance, breathing. So I think I had a question on somatic breathing last week. Somatic breathing is something good. It affects our autonomous nervous system. Yeah, we can a quick intervention for somebody in a state of having a very, very anxious moment, for instance, is breathing in quick through the nose 2 times. And that tends to give the autonomic nervous system a kick so that it starts to calm down and it's not stuck in a pattern of anxiety, for instance, right? So somatic breathing is something that is there. Breathing in general, it is something, as he mentioned, the questioner that mentioned, that we do rhythmic breathing in the recitation of the Quran, yeah, in using tajweed and getting through the ayats. This is correct. So this is one of the natural rhythmic breathing exercises that has once again be adapted as a fail-safe for us. Reading Surah Fatiha has been made wajib 17 times for most of the madhaib. We can debate the Hanafi madhab if you want, but even there, even though Fatiha is not stipulated, the Quran is stipulated. So rhythmic breathing will show up anyways in Salat, right? Um, so focusing on breath is something that is there. Um, yeah, uh, monitoring choiceless awareness of whatever arises. Then, of course, we have the research and we have the different modalities. This you can look at. We've got now Islamic modalities of mindfulness as well, where they put an Islamic component in it. Great. I love that this effort is being done. All good, inshallah. So comparison between these is something you can look at. Foundation, we just go through it very fast. Holistic, yeah. Noble Enfold Path, so something honorable, something greater than the human being is sort of in the original Buddhist mindfulness. But of course, we've reduced it in modern psychology to a skill set. It's a skill, it's an intervention. We use it for something, and that's it. Um, Object of attention, 4 foundations: body, feelings, mind, mental objects. Mental objects can be anything in your conscious space. So 4 scopes: body, valence. This is, of course, very material, very substance oriented, very bashar centric, right? An attitude guided by ethical discernment, compassion. So compassion is a Buddhist thing. For the secular one, it's allowing, non-resistant, unanimous, and impartial. So I'll move from here. These are some of the criticisms. You can read my slides when I share them with you. I think I've said most of them already. So this is my first one. If you can join and give me some feedback. Based on Khusyuk, what seems to be the limitation of this mindfulness? And try and scan the QR and just bear with me. Can anybody send? Okay, it might not be practical for somebody dealing with ADHD, fine. Okay, concentration on divine things, yes. Lacking of focus. What about non-believers? I agree with you. Yeah, what do we do with non-believer? Mm. Okay, difficulty in measurement. Do we really need to measure it? Sound. Okay. Easily distracted. Fine. To be sincere. Okay, ikhlas. Good. Anxiety thinking our ibadah is accepted instead of khusyuk. Okay. Yeah. Internal distractions, external environment, haste. Great. Weak iman. I have views on that. Non-believers, non-practicing Muslims. Okay. Merely through posture, it requires heart's willingness to turn. Okay. I think mindfulness also needs a willingness, heart to focus. Yes, mindfulness. I agree with this statement. I'll elaborate a bit more. Yep, as an aspect of judgment. Yeah, I'll take one more. That's typing. High-level spiritual, religious, behavioral state. Okay, I'll move to the next one. I will read Qalbu Marid. Okay, Qalb Marid, sick heart, perhaps. Okay, let's see if you got anything mind art. Okay. Similar concept practices in Islam. Okay. So I will quickly sum up zikr. Zikr is in practice, but I mean in the, bringing your mind into the present state. Okay, so Jazakumullah khairan for the feedback. I wish there was more time, but let me quickly say where I was going with that. So firstly, mindfulness, if you see, it ends up in the bashar of insan. It is in the physical, material realm of insan. That's its limitation, especially modern mindfulness. That's where we stop. We look at our thoughts, we observe, that's where we stop. We feel the sensations in our body, that's where we stop. We in the present moment, we're experiencing it, and that's where we stop. We don't go further than that. Whereas the human being is not just bodily sensations or current thoughts. Yeah, that's the one aspect. The other one is, do we have terminologies that we use in Islam? So one is muraqabah. Yeah, it's a very tasawwuf term, being observant and vigilant of what you're doing. Another one that some people said is taqwa itself. Taqwa is a consciousness. So I'll go a bit more into this in our next session. So my conclusion then for today is mindfulness is a great starting point, but it's limited in terms of being a holistic, nourishing intervention. And then my teaser for next week, I just put a picture here. So what is mental health? What is mental health? Is it just mental? Is it just biological? Where do we go from here? So inshallah, we'll introduce this next week. We'll discuss this and then hopefully start going into the khushu intervention itself. Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu fikum. Whatever is good, great is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever in error is from me. Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much, Dr. Usman, for that very interesting and interactive session. I closed my eyes for some time and I was thinking, am I gaining khushu or losing khushu by closing my eyes while listening to you? But it was a very interesting experience. While you were speaking and listening, we were closing our eyes and trying to breathe. I think it's the first time I've seen that being done online like this and live interactive Islamic perspective. Thank you so much. It was a very interesting class today. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Osman. Brothers and sisters, we have a half an hour break. I think it will be about 28 minutes. Malaysian time now is 11:32. So we will be back at 12 o'clock for the next class on mental illness treatment. an Islamic perspective by Dr. Nora. And inshallah, I will see you then. We'll take a break for about 28 minutes. Assalamu alaikum.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Dr. Nora, are you with us? Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Nora, are you already in? Have you joined? Okay, we'll wait for her.
Assalamualaikum, doctor. Is it Dr. Nora or my turn today?
It's your turn. It's your turn, Dr. Haniza. I'm very sorry. I was looking at the wrong table.
Okay, all right.
I'm looking at the wrong table. Inshallah. How are you, Prof? Sihat?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Okay,
Alhamdulillah.
so let me
Yes,
share.
doctor. You can even try to share your slide and see if it's okay.
All right. Let me start. Okay. Okay, can you see the slide? Chat,
Not yet, not yet.
Let me see page 1. Okay. Hold on.
Not yet.
Mm. I'll start at 12, right?
Yes, another two minutes and then we will open the class. Inshallah. We'll open around 11:58. So you can start at 12 sharp, inshallah. We can see Grief and Bereavement lecture 2. Very clear. Uh, can you hear me now? Is my voice audible, Dr. Haniza?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Alhamdulillah. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are now about to start our third class of the day by Associate Professor Dr. Haniza Rais on grief and bereavement in Islam. I think we had a very useful class last week. Dr. Haniza really outlined the different dimensions and types of griefs that can affect us. Grief is something that affects each and every one of us, and bereavement is part of life. And understanding how to process it in accordance to our faith is paramount to our not only our mental health but our general well-being, individually and in the society. And I think we can't understand mental health without having an idea of how to deal with grief and bereavement in our lives, because it is something that we encounter on almost on a daily basis, if not for us, but for people who are close to us. So please, let's benefit from this session again from Dr. Haniza in this second class, Prophetic Paradigms for Mental Health, an integrated Islamic framework for grief counseling and purposeful living. Dr. Haniza, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to another interesting class from you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You may begin now, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Alhamdulillah, this is our second lecture. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I would like to continue from the last lecture, but I'll try to structure the lecture differently this time around. But like I said earlier, maybe you have not joined me before, and this is probably the first time. So the same thing, I would like to do a little bit psychological disclaimer that if any one of you experiencing some kind of reactions to my lecture, as I am talking about grief and loss is a very sensitive subject, a very delicate subject. So please make sure that you get professional help and talk to someone after this. So this today is basically if you recall from the last lecture, we tried to put this together from the Islamic theology, cultural context, and then we go down to individual experience, and we'll see how psychological science put all this together in our effort to help people with grief. Okay, and I think what the mental health professionals, if you're a practitioner or you're someone who's helping somebody who's grieving, even if you are the one who's experiencing it, probably the lecture will help you understand a little bit how you want to respond to grief. Okay, so I think probably it is not a common thing to talk about grief in general. It can be a taboo to certain culture. Probably it is seen as something natural, is part of life. Okay, but over the years, we realized that the need for us to, take a look at how people are affected when they lost someone important in their life. Okay, so I hope what I give here probably maybe just basic things, but inshallah we'll see how in Islam how we define grief is actually true. It is fitrah, the innate human nature that it's just like birth and death are two things that are inevitable in our life. So we see that grief is not because people have different reactions to grief. Therefore, they are starting to see how to reflect on their spiritual being when it comes to losing someone important in their life. Okay, so instead of affirms that experiencing profound sorrow is an integral aspect, part of human condition. We try to see how we can manage grief as we are experiencing it. So, of course, we cannot like just look at grief as a loss itself, but we have to see it in overall perspective of loss. Okay. So the prophetic model of mourning, actually, we can recall the most profound validation of grief comes directly from the prophet. Okay, when his infant son Ibrahim passed away, the prophet openly wept. So this is something that that is important for us to see how we can actually see this is already there. Okay, because in our culture, there will be guilt feeling in terms of should I cry, should I not cry, and sometimes you have people telling you that don't cry, because this is fated for you. Are you not accepting what's fated for you? Things like that. So there are things people respond to us like somehow impede the grieving process, and I think with this I like I mentioned earlier, from this very important statement, the heart grieves and the eyes shed tears, yet only that pleases Allah is uttered. So the moment we see this, we realize that, okay, even the prophet cries. So and to what extent you want to cry? These are the things that people have issues in daily life when they lose, when they experience loss in their life. Okay. Right. Okay, basically, tears as manifestation of rahmah. So sometimes we see, and I'm glad to see this in our that in Islam, it is emotional validation. It is okay to feel sad. It is okay to cry, and okay, this is something that is natural when you lose, when you experience loss of someone important in your life. So when someone say, okay, I should not be crying, and or someone said you should not cry anymore, let the you have to be more acceptance of things, but that can, like I said, affect the person who's experiencing loss to feel much sadder, or probably not able to express the feelings that they have. So and normally what we do is really the emotional pain is not a symptom of weak faith. So and in the process of helping someone who's grieving, we always have to actually approach them with compassion, saying that it's okay for you to cry. It is somebody important in your life that you lost, and you have every reason to feel sad about it. So we are talking about immediately or even after. Sometimes people are still feel sad, and we still have to be compassionate about it, and by responding to them, saying that, okay, it may have been quite some time, over a year or 2 years, or a few years, but you still feel sad because this is a normal reactions as you're losing someone important in your life. So when we are talking about grief, in the clinical implication is sometimes we'll see that how with some people treated grief as an illness, and that should not be the way. Okay, so it has to be treated, the treatment that we go through is normally a process of not recovering, process of managing grief. So if we talk about recover, it is something that is, like I said, if you have physical illness, you want to recover. But if you're grieving, you need to manage the grief, and the recovery process is not in the terminology in grief counseling. Okay, so our job is to validate the pain. It is the first step, and it is very like I said, is rahmah, is showing how much we care, and you know, we empathize what the person is going through. Okay, moving to the next slide. Like I said, there's a cultural stigma about grief and misconception about weak faith. So we have to be able to help people understand that it is not assessing your iman. So this is something, that misconception that need to be addressed. Okay. And the reality in Islam, grief is recognized as a natural, dignified, and meaningful response to loss. It is neither denied or pathologized. Okay, so emotional expression is fully compatible with deep spiritual commission. Like last week I mentioned about how when we lost someone important in a while, and many people who experience loss in their life, they start reflecting on themselves, and they actually reflect on their spiritual being more as they go through the process of grieving. Okay. I think this is from the last slide. Somebody asked me to repeat the last slide because I went through so very quickly. So let me just go back to this. Actually, every time we talk about loss, it's really about attachment, how we attach to someone. But we know that in Islam, you know, when you lost someone, you have to let go the attachment with the basic thing, knowing that nothing is permanent to us. That's simple and very not to say simple, but it is a very basic thing we understand. And the process of accepting is not one action. It's a process for us to accept that what we all the person that we thought we owe is actually only borrowed to us. So and every time we with friends or colleagues, you know, or even clients who are Muslims, we try to be able to balance that, saying that, okay, it's time to let go. And, you know, I'm not yet talking about children, how they grieve. And I have experienced children, a child who actually asked me, if Allah loves me, why Allah took away my dad? So this is not an easy thing to respond to kid. Okay, I may not have time to talk about how kids react to grief differently, but they are also another human being. This is another thing that I would like to mention. Any human attachment, a dad to a mother, to children, to friends, any meaningful attachment, or it looks like it is about closeness, but the reality, if you do not have the opportunity to get close to someone, you can also experience grief. Okay, for example, a teenager who been rebellious all his life, suddenly lost the father, right? So, and the father died, and he probably realized that I could have, you know, get closer to my dad. I didn't get close, and I didn't really use the opportunity to be with my father. Now he's gone. I feel bad about it, and I did. So that person also experienced grief, that need help. How to manage the guilt feeling, the regrets for not being able to have the quality relationship with the father. So grief is actually about, you know, the process of, you don't get attached to anyone immediately. You normally get attached over duration of time. So for you to let go, the loss of someone is also taking some time. Okay, so in Islam, I mentioned just now death as an inevitable reality of human life. So indeed, we belong to Allah, and to Him we return. This is very powerful verse that actually help us slowly able to accept that we are nobody. We are with power, with money, with whatever. When the time comes for you to let go, someone you have to let go. Okay, this verse reframes loss as part of a larger spiritual journey rather than a meaningless event. Okay, I also mentioned last lecture saying that a person will be a totally different person after the loss of someone, and then this can happen. This will happen to almost everybody, because you don't see yourself the same person without your mom, without your husband, without your spouse, without your child. You will be a different person because the significant person that you have in life is no longer around. So how do you manage yourself without the presence of this loved one is another thing that we have to actually work on. Okay. All right. So I think what I actually stopped last lecture is about how we see loss to be a divine test. Okay. And this is how actually when grief is seen as a test, how we cope with the loss is people say that, oh, there are Islamic coping and there are non-Islamic coping, or I don't know, Western coping, but to me, anything that is good, they are all Islamic coping. So, or spiritual coping, maybe seen as how you do zikir, how you do recite Quran and all that. But I think whatever brings you to yourself to be a better person is a good coping, a healthy coping, will be part of our spiritual self, because we always in the process of want to be a better person every day. Okay. And then of course many people have actually shared how in the beginning they didn't realize that, earlier just now we talked about mindfulness, and I have actually had people working on how they cope with using zikir and all that, and it helps them calm them down, help them focus on themselves. Although it looks, some people say, oh, it looks, zikir is something help you focus and really calm you down when you are in a very stressful situation. Especially you can see reactions to grief is actually similar to when it can be stressful. Okay, so whatever stress reaction you will see there with your grief reactions. Okay, later I will show with you what are the normal reactions of grief. So looking at loss or grief as a test is something that has this very powerful way of coping, because not to make it like sound very, okay, this is test, so you have to accept, but you'll be able to see how you face the reality of loss with the fact that it is being tested on you. How you cope will make a big difference to whatever you experience. Okay. Okay, I think being in counseling, I've seen people coming with all kinds of tests, and I think I can easily say the hardest part of all for us for being tested is when someone lost someone important in their life, and because in counseling we use, when you heard the word coping, is basically how you manage yourself, how you see yourself cope with the situation. That it means it is because you cannot change anything about it. Okay, there are things that you cannot change, and one of the things that you cannot change is death. Okay, so how do you help people who's experiencing loss of loved ones is by coping with the situation. Whatever makes them feel, whatever make them feel good, better, not good, make them better will be a good coping. All right. So this is important. So whatever is therapeutic to them is coping. So, but definitely it's not going to bring back the disease, but the way how you can, I always talk about what are the things that you can do for the disease, for your loved one, the thing that benefit you, to the person who have gone, because there are things you want to do for them when they're alive, but they're no longer around. But there are things in Islam that you can do to help you cope better, to know that whatever you do for this, for your loved one will benefit them there in the life hereafter. So by discussing this with friends or with my clients in counseling, it helps them see that, oh, actually I can do something about it. Although I have so many things I want to do in the past, when when my loved one around, but I won't be able to do it. But now I know I can do something that will actually benefit the person, and that's really, really therapeutic to the person who is the bereaved person. Okay. So this is a very another surah that help us understand that it is part of, there are many tests, we are being tested all the time. One of the greatest tests in our life will be loss of loved ones. Okay, I said this earlier, right? I want to say the one in green. Loss is therefore not viewed as punishment, but as part of human experience designed to cultivate spiritual growth. Okay. Um, uh, Sometimes people have this tendency to say, oh, am I being punished for not being thankful? Am I being punished for not taking care of the person? Am I being punished for, being neglecting my parents, for example? But as we look at this as, again, it's not a punishment, and to help them see that death is real, and the time of death is already stated for us. So we have to actually help them to see that it is not a punishment. It is, you are not responsible for the death. It is something that has been fated for you, and this is a very delicate process to communicate with, because at the end of the day, to communicate with the bereaved, they are vulnerable. What we say can be misunderstood. So that's another issue that I always experience. Okay. So same thing about this. When we talk about this, my one of the therapeutic goal that we can do, even if you are not a counselor, if you're not a mental health professional, you can just have a friend who lost someone. You can actually allow them to ask questions, or you can and discuss with us how difficult it is to go through this process, because many people want this process to end. Okay, but us having conversation with them, discussing the difficulty that they're going through because of the loss, will be helpful to them. The fact that we check on them, very often we check on our friends the first day of death, the first 3 days, the first 1 week, we send all foods and all that. But after 1 month, many people have forgotten that they are actually still grieving. So every anniversary is, to me, is the moment that they will start recall. So I just wrote this, some of the things that I think is very important. All the birth dates, anniversaries, festivities like Ramadan or Hari Raya, all these are moments when they feel the loss more because of the missing person. So they can be very sensitive, like I said, vulnerable, and And this is the moment that probably we want to check on them. So call them, okay, this must be difficult for you to have Ramadan without your mom. Or how are you going to do this time around? Since your parents, after this Hari Raya, are you going to be in back with at your parents' house? Things like this, they will actually say, oh, somebody, out there do have this concern, and remember that I am in this painful experience, because the first aid without the loved ones is painful. The first year of loss is also another moment that we need to help remind ourselves to, because people, we are so busy with life, sometimes checking on our friends who lost, especially on this important days, will make them feel that um, you know, there are people who are actually concerned with their grief experience. Okay. Okay, last week I said about what is grief, and it's stationary anything, reactions to death of someone whom you feel attached. Because I move quickly with this. And this one, what I just described to you. Okay, so you can read this how okay, this is another illustration of grieving mother. Okay, so you can read from my slide, and this is what's happening actually. When there's loss on one hand and life on another hand, you lost someone, you also have to navigate your own personal loss, and you need to navigate your life after that. So last week I said, do not say move on. You need to say move forward. This is what I mean. Okay, because when you move forward, you are still acknowledging that I've lost someone. All right. So moving forward, you need to, how do you manage your life after this? What changes you need to take in order for you to be able to move forward, so that you can still move forward without the presence of this important person? I'm talking about someone who lost their spouse, for example, who never done anything, like the wife, who relied everything on the husband, and suddenly have to do everything. So there are lots of things. Next week I will probably talk about the grief in the family context, because that is something that I see important. As we in Islam, we have the family is very important thing in our life, and I will talk about roles and responsibilities and role shifts and how we are affecting each other, because definitely when somebody die in the family, it can affect our relationships. Okay, right. I shared this last week. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, different types of loss. So you can read the slide, but basically, death is just one physical loss, but the other things that are coming with it is the thing that you have to most of the time have to deal with. Okay, the effects of it, the effects of loss. Okay, and I want to show dimension of grief. Last week I did not talk about it because this is how you wanna respond to the dimensions of grief. Dimensions of grief, basically your grief reactions. Yeah, and I'm sharing with you this 4 component because the reactions of griefs are all normal. So if, let's say, people think that it's not, we need to help people normalize. This is normal for people who lost someone important in their life. So number 1 is how you feel, and I just name a few here. You can feel anything, that most of the time negative feelings. Okay, you feel sad, you feel angry, you always find reason to be angry at someone, you always find, and guilt and regrets. There are another 2 components that are very difficult to manage, because and if you look for it, you'll find one. That's why if someone say, I feel guilty for not doing this and that, I'll say, okay, if you keep on looking for guilt feelings, you will have tons of it. Okay, so now why don't you focus on what you can do about something that will benefit the deceased. So because guilt feeling is past. Just now we talk about mindfulness. We have to be at the presence now. So bring back what we can do now that will, at this moment. Anxiety. Sometimes you have anxious about, anxiety is all about future. You're not worried about what's next or how my life will be next. So, and we have to say, when we have people who are experiencing grief with this kind of emotions, we cannot deny their emotions. Those feelings are real. Okay, the fact that you say don't be sad, you are denying their feelings and you are making them feel, like I said, sad, much sadder, or they can feel angry because they will say, who are you? You don't lost your mom. I am the one who lost my mom. So and we have to actually validate that feeling, saying that, oh, you must, this is this is I can see that you feel anxious about things, that guilt that you have. Let's talk about that guilt feeling. So if you don't know what to say, we just ask them, let's talk about that guilt feeling. Okay, what do you think you can do about it? Okay, I can see that you are angry. Maybe it looks like you are angry to yourself, and there are people who are actually angry towards the deceased. In the case of, like suicidal, or even it's natural death, the promise that they make to that the deceased make to them, for example. So these are the things that emotionally, cognitively is, you will see some people look confused, and they don't believe that it's gone. You say, come on, you have to accept this person is gone. Are you not a Muslim? You should be able, you should be more acceptance. The situation that this is that you need to accept. But about this cognitively, how you, the reason I mentioned about emotion, how people react emotionally, cognitively, and behaviorally, this is how you can actually go back to this reaction and work on the coping. How do you cope with this feeling? How do you, when someone, I'm sure that you have met people who lost someone, will keep on sharing with you things, stories of the deceased over and over again. And you say, oh, you told me last time. And sometimes it's more, not just once or twice, or thrice. It's every time they say, they talk about the same thing. So, and I know it can be annoying to be listening to people who's grieving saying the same thing. What you can say is, okay, you've said this quite a few times. This must be important to you, right? So they know that, oh, I said this many, yeah, you told me many times, and I know this is really, really affecting you so much. So it's, don't say this again. I've heard this so many times. Instead of saying that, you say, okay, this must be important to you, that you repeat this all the time. Okay. And behavioral withdrawal from social, you have to understand, you must give them time. Don't push them. Let's meet people. Let's go out. That's why I think what in Islam is for the wife who lost the, for the wife who lost the husband, being home, for that durations of time is wonderful, because it's really time for the wife to actually look back and, not disturb with the rest of the thing that is instead focus on the grieving process, and more focus on herself. Okay, so if people don't want to see others, let them be, but again, there are other things that you see. Okay, what happened is, if someone say, oh, this person got back his, many reactions can also be, how do you say that? People with certain mental illness like depression or anxiety, or, grief can trigger that, but grief will not cause mental health issue, depression. It looks the same, But maybe next week I'll show you how the difference between the two. But many people get triggered with their mental health issue during the grief, when they lost someone, because they are not able to manage their grief well. Okay, so physically, maybe you feel fatigue, unexplained fatigue. You feel so tired. You either sleep too much or you are not able to sleep. Okay, you feel every parts of your body aching, somatic complaints. Yeah, so these are the condition that that is normal for the first, when we lost someone important in your life in the beginning. So you should be able to see that, saying that, okay, why do I feel this way? Why I feel so tired? So if you see this normal reactions of grief, you will see they are quite similar with stress. Okay, of course, a loss someone important is part of stress. Okay. Okay, you can read the details of how there are people who don't want to see people, but let it be. But when you can always say to them, okay, it's okay for you. If you don't want to see people, if you don't talk to people, it's okay. But you can take your time to grieve, and don't because there's something that is normal to everyone. Okay. I think one of the thing that I think I want, there are many things actually, the Islamic context, how there are actually, I've seen in the grief process experienced by the Muslim people. But I just want to focus on the three, and those are the thing actually mentioned quite regularly. Okay. And you see, I want to show this framework, Islamic and Western grief framework. To us, death is a transition to another world. But to the Western people, death as finality. That's it. Okay. And we see that how we see the grief framework to be part of our our revisiting or reflecting on our faith, and how we see that the loved one is now in the afterlife, and we are separated by that. Okay. The Western perspective look that solely by attachment theory, but in Western perspective, they actually look at grief in stages. But again, there are over the years, there are development on grief. Even they started to see more acceptance of spiritual coping, and they will see that stages is too fixed, and it is not something that people go through in grief. Okay. If you look at Islamic framework, it is all about the process of grieving itself. We are much into the process of how sabar we are. Okay, the tawakkul part, and it is continuously process of grieving. Okay, so in Western perspective, it's very individualistic. It's all about you, but it is, but we in our society, we have we should, or actually we are supposed to be, in a communal support. Okay. And in fact, many of the things that we do during when someone died in our community setting, we actually have the involvement of the community, who work together during the process of the funeral and all that. And it's really a community based process of helping during the funeral. How much time do I have? Am I still okay with my time?
7 minutes.
Oh, 7 minutes. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think I will just go. These are the things that you can read about Sabar and Rida. But I want to go further to this concept, because there are the three things that we can integrate in our coping concept. Okay. So, okay. How what happened with when we use the word sabar, the concept of sabar and what actually happened during the process of grieving are two different things. Okay. And we have to see that it's not a passive acceptance, it's not emotional suppression. When you say sabar, that's it, but it's actually how you develop that active process of managing distress by maintaining your faith. So sabar is actually not one moment thing, it's a process. How you slowly be more acceptance of things. Okay. Same with reda or total acceptance. It does not occur immediately. You don't say, oh, you know, if you make people think you have to, you know, you have to reda with whatever fated to you, but you have to actually encourage, you know, okay, it's okay, slowly we'll find our way to be more acceptance of things. Okay, so it has to be developed gradually, and definitely these people, they know they have to be sabar and they have to be reda. So the fact that when we tell them again and again and again on the day of the funeral, it can be overwhelming to them. So how we do it, probably we have can continuous, okay, how I know it is hard for you to accept this, you know, let's proceed. Well, let's you know, talk with them, try to process the difficulties of to be total acceptance, to be you know, you know, I actually had experience. It's easy for you to say sabar, but you don't, you still have your kids, you still have your daughter or your children. I lost my only child. So and the only the and we don't want to minimize that pain. So I normally say, I cannot imagine how it is for you to lose some your child, you know. That's it. So sometimes we are running out of words, but the best thing is to say, you know, to just reflect what they're experiencing. And then tawakkul is also another process that will take some time. That's why grieving, you need to give them time to believe that the painful experience occur within about. And also please be careful with, you know, we have this statement by someone saying that, okay, you'll be replaced with something better or someone better. That is really I know many of us say that, but that has hurt many people for saying that you think that my husband can be replaced. Okay, these are creating anger in them. Okay. Okay, so sabar is often conflated with emotional suppression. So that's misconception. Sabar is actually active, evolving emotional, spiritual process. It involves emotional regulation. Many of us actually develop sabar more after we lost someone important, because we learn to regulate our emotion to be able to accept things and all that. Okay, so by having this cognitive meaning making, that actually improve how we actually infuse sabar in ourselves, patience in ourselves. Allowing grief to be fully felt, narrated, and integrated over time rather than shutting it. So, like I said, it's good to be able to. I know not all of us we can verbalize things, or not all of us share things, but when you don't push people to share, but you can say, maybe if it is helpful for you to share, let's share. If you're not able to share with me or your people in the family, you can share with someone in the professional, a counselor. So that's something that can be done. Okay. I think I want to finish the part reda so that I can start something new next lecture. Defining reda is, like I said, is part of another process, and at the same time you see how profound the loss that you have experienced, and slowly you learn how to accept, and this is another process that can also be seen in the current grief theories. The Western theories also see this as something developmental that can be reconstruct. Okay. And I think when I use the word, I don't think the fact that you normalize the situation and try to be more, what do you say, that to be more conscious of what you say. I will touch on this framework next week. Okay, so that helps you be more conscious of what you say. You do not just want to say something just for the sake of saying. Okay, So sabar and reda, they are developmental process, not moral imperatives. Like I said, the concept of sabar and reda is not just, it is a very profound words that also include the process of in the process of grieving. Okay. Myth of sabar, emotional suppression, premature acceptance. So you don't push people to be sabar, to stop them from saying things by saying sabar, anything you need to be patient. No. Okay. Passive endurance is not denying the pain, but it's more emotional regulation. It's meaning reconstruction. This is something that actually is there. I don't have I'm not able to talk about meaning construction now because I'm running out of time. But I think this is how you navigate pain safely over time. So avoid spiritual bypassing, respect client's readiness. This is very important, the last one. If they're not ready to talk, they're not ready to see you, they're not ready to go out, they're not ready, always tell them. If you take time, when you're ready, you can do, okay, there are people in our culture, for example, okay, you need to remove all clothes and all that. But you have to be respectful of the bereaved people by saying, take your time whenever you feel like, removing the deceased items, you can do at your whenever you feel about it. So when you feel ready to it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I will stop there.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That, that that was almost, I wanted to say don't stop, continue, because the points that you are raising towards the end of the lecture were very interesting. And you reached to the point of Reda, and we have been hearing sometimes the word closure being shared, that the family wants some closure. And I was thinking if there's a relationship between Reda and closure. And this is a very interesting topic. Please proceed from here next class and build on this so that we can get deeper insights. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Dr. Haniza.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Dr. Jamilah, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Alhamdulillah. We, brothers and sisters, we have now Associate Professor Dr. Jamilah Hanum to take us the next class on traditional Islamically integrated psychotherapy. Dr. Jamilah, you can switch on your video. Yes, I can see you now. And maybe you are screen sharing so we can all see your
Okay.
screen.
All right, let me try to share my screen.
Alhamdulillah, we can see the screen.
Okay,
You may
let me
like to
make it.
use a slideshow.
Okay. Is it moving? Okay.
It is very clear.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jamilah. Yeah, traditional Islamically integrated psychotherapy, class number 2. Thank you so much for coming and being with us again. And you may begin now the class, Doctor. Bismillah.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremony, my teacher, Dr. Rashad, and to more than 150 learners today in our online short course, Certificate in Mental Health, Psychology and Counselling and Islamic Perspective. So I will continue the lecture series on traditional Islamically integrated psychotherapy, and I would like to maintain some credits and disclaimer. TIIP, Traditional Islamically Integrated Psychotherapy, is not been developed by me. I'm a student of TIIP. You can know further about TIIP by browsing through this website, Khalil Center. It is a US company, or I'm not sure company or NGO or social enterprise. And I would like to invite everyone to have this book, the textbook for TIIP. You can find it in Amazon. And in order for us to learn TIIP, it is being divided into 3 levels. Level 1, foundational study. Level 2, advanced application, where we learn how to utilize TIIP, especially among people with mental health professional, where we will be needed to present our cases and utilizing the framework of TIIP, how to understand, conceptualize a mental health issue from TIIP perspective. Level 3 is through supervision, a 200-hour supervision. In case you would like to know further about this, I invite you to browse through Khalil Center website. Again, I'm a student of TIIP. I've just completed my level 2 training and waiting for being supervised in level 3. These are all my course instructor. What I've learned, what I understand from their lecture, from their supervision on me, I am trying to share it with you. If there is a mistake, I would like to seek your understanding. I am sorry. That is purely my limitations. So this is one of the founder of the TIIP, Dr. Human Keshavarzi. And when you see the Khalil Center website, you can find who are the certified therapists. Not many, yeah. In Malaysia, there are only 2 individuals at the moment, 1 clinical psychologist and 1 psychiatrist that are undergoing level 3 supervision. And I'm yet to even start the level 3. Okay, so a bit disclaimer and also credits, and I would like to do that in the upcoming session as well, just to make sure that all of you are aware where you can find further information on TIIP. In this lecture 2 out of 4 lectures of TIIP, I would like to invite you to further learn about the ontological model and mechanism of change of TIIP. So by the end of this session, inshallah, by the end of this session, I hope that you will be able to describe, identify, and explain, not critically evaluating yet at this stage, yeah. And I hope that if you leave today with conceptual clarity about number 1, Latifah Rabbaniyah, yeah, the 5 domains of human being, and the 4 stages of change, I trust that this session has achieved its aim. So basically, that is our aim for today's lecture. So a bit of recap, yeah. Last week, what we established is something that is very important. We've heard about CBT and Islam, CBT from Islamic perspective, or Islamized CBT, and TIIP is not Islamized CBT. It is grounded in a different terminology, different epistemology, different anthropology, different teleology, and today we would like to zoom further into its ontology. If you have forgotten about what is epistemology and anthropology and teleology of TIIP, I would like to suggest that you go back to the lecture 1 slides. I have explained that in the lecture. So we would like to zoom today's lecture on ontology. If healings from the perspective of TIIP, it aims at equilibrium. So what exactly are we balancing? Yeah, because in the last lecture we were saying that the aim of healing in TIIP is to achieve the equilibrium of the multiple domains that we have as a human being. But what exactly we are balancing here? So let's look at the ontological model again. Human being, all of us, consists of our physical body and also our metaphysical self. Islamic scholarship consistently describes the human being as having 2 dimensions: the outward physical body and also our inward subtle self. They are connected, but not reducible to one another. For example, Neuroscience may show our brain activation during decision making. I trust that you've probably learned this from Dr. Usman when you learn about Khusyuk and mindfulness. But classical theologians, our Islamic scholars, argue the brain is the instrument, our physical body. The brain is the instrument. The source of cognition is deeper than that. Source of our akal is deeper than that. And this distinction, the outward physical body, inward subtle self, zahir, batin, it prevents us from reductionism. Let's look at this slide on Latifah Rabbaniyah. The term Latifah Rabbaniyah, and I know that I'm not an Islamic scholar, so I still need to learn a lot of things. I need to experience and go through the journey to understand myself more. But I'm sharing whatever that I know at the moment. The term Latifah Rabbaniyah refers to the subtle divine essence within the human being. Let me repeat that. Latifah Rabbaniyah, it refers to the subtle divine essence, divinity, divine essence within the human being, within us. It is one unified essence, but it is expressed in multiple forms. I trust that some of other lectures could have also mentioned this. And as you can see, the akal, ruh, nafs, qalb, and ihsas. So these are the expression in multiple forms. These are not 5 separate souls. It is not 5 separate souls. It's a one unified essence, but expressed in multiple forms. They are expressions or functional dimensions of one inner self. Okay, that is how we express ourselves as a human being. And that is our functional dimension. So akal has its own function. Nafs has its own function. The function that express our own inner self. And it's very important for us to not look at this in a fragmented way. We must prevent we must prevent a fragmentation in our understanding. Remember that this is a one unified essence, but it expressed in multiple forms. So as you can see, the 5 components, and I would like to use this slide as an overview first. Let's briefly define each component before we start elaborating it in the next slides. Think of this as dimensions of functioning. I described that expression, functional dimension. That is the words that we want to use. In therapy, as a clinical psychologist, in therapy, we normally ask which domain is primarily driving the imbalance. Is it the nafs? Is it the ihsas that makes things become imbalanced? Is it the akal? Or is it some spiritual imbalances? Is it something with our ruh? So the same symptom may originate from different domains. So one symptom can be originated or contributed from these 5 different domains. And that is why in my first lecture, I mentioned that understanding the ontology is very important. In CBT, for example, we put everything is related to akal. Akal is number 1. Cognitive processes is number 1. And then the nafs, the behavioral inclinations. We very much focus on akal, ihsas, and nafs in CBT, but we do not talk at all about ruh and qalb in CBT. So understanding this ontology is very important, very fundamental in order for us to use the IIP. Okay, so let's go through this domain one by one. The nafs, our behavioral inclinations. The nafs is often misunderstood. If we learn psychology, we tend to think that it's evil. but it is not. It is not evil. Nafs is the seed of appetite, yeah, kehendak, needs, yeah, and also our wants, our aggressive drives, yeah. For example, hedonistic addiction. Okay, what does it mean by hedonistic addiction? We want something that is pleasurable, yeah, pleasurable. I think many human beings, including myself or all of us, sometimes are addicted to something comfortable. We don't want something uncomfortable, right? We want something pleasure. Impulsive anger, avoidance behavior. When we feel afraid of certain thing, we want to avoid it, right? That is our behavioral inclinations. That is our nafs. If it is in untrained state, if our nafs in untrained state, it will incline towards excess. Yeah, if we don't train our nafs, it inclines toward excess. Now, being women, one of the excessive is having this hijab, right? How many hijab that I want? So if it is not trained, it will move towards excessive. Yeah, 100 of hijab, 100 of tudung. But nafs, the good news is nafs is capable of refinement. It is capable of improvement, moving from nafs amarah to lawamah to mutmainnah. Yeah, it can move. Okay. Probably in some lectures, some of the teachers have touched on that. Another example that I wanted to share for nafs is, for example, my client, or probably some of us here, yeah, a person who repeatedly binge watches at night. Binge watches, we have so many platforms now, yeah, that we can do binge watching while scrolling at night. Despite we have some regret, but we still do it. We still do it, right? We have some addiction of moving things up, down using our fingers. And that scrolling, yeah, the tension is in nafs versus our akal. Okay. Let's look at our akal, rational faculty. And akal is not simply intellectual quotient. It is not simply IQ. Akal is the faculty of our discernment, yeah. It allows a person to say, this impulse, these needs, these wants, this urge may feel good, but it will harm me. Yeah. So that is akal. This impulse may feel good, but it will harm me. So it can restrain the nafs. Without akal, there is no accountability. Okay, why we human beings have accountability? We are accountable to what we do. Why we are accountable to our nafs, our behavioral inclination, because we have akal. For example, a person knows their anger is disproportionate. Some of us may have impulsive issue, anger issue. That awareness is akal. If we know that we have addiction issue of binge watching, that awareness is akal. Okay. Let's talk about ruh, our spiritual orientation. We know that Allah mentioned that He knows more about ruh, and we only know very little, and not everyone know about it. This is where the area where Murshid knows better. Yeah, ruh and qalb. Murshid knows better compared to clinical psychologists like me who are also searching for myself. The ruh has dual description. Yeah, as you can see, ruh hayawani, ruh ulwi samawi, and you can see the ruh hayawani. This is our life force, and our divine inclination is ruh samawi. Yeah, the life force animates our body. We need to have that. The life force, the roh hayawani, animates our body, and the higher inclination toward transcendent is the roh ulwi samawi. For example, the desire for meaning, the longing for closeness to God, the discomfort with moral failure. So these are all related to the divine inclination or roh ulwi samawi. So that's it. That is why when someone talk about deep thing, about meaning, and then crying because they are unsure whether they're doing things correctly or not, whether Allah still remember them or not. This is not something bad. Yeah, we don't need to correct them immediately. That could be an activation of their divine inclination, and that is something very good. Yeah. So all human beings, we have that pull upward. And that pull upward is the roh samawi. Let's talk about our spiritual heart, our call. Yeah. The call, according to the TIIT, is the center. Yeah. All domains affect it. Okay, all the other 4 domains will affect our health. Just as poor diet, okay, Dr. Rashad introduced me as someone who like to read about diabetes, overweight, and obesity. Yeah, it's very much also related to our diet. So, if we have poor diet, if we eating poorly, it will harm the physical heart, our physical heart, and excessive indulgence of, for example, ice cream, or excessive breaking our fast at certain a hotel, paying about 200 ringgit and eat a lot, that excessive indulgence not only will harm our physical heart, but it will harm our spiritual heart. And this is where integration happen. Yeah, spiritual heart, our cult. In therapy, improvement is often visible in the softening of the heart. Yeah, and remember, the therapists need to learn on how to do that, and the therapists also need to have the murshid to know to train the therapists in understanding their own cult. Yeah. So this is a long journey if you would like to become a TIIP therapist. Let's look at the emotion, another element, another domain. And emotion arise from the interaction of domains, yeah? And anger, for example, may emerge from our nafs, our impulse, from our akal, interpretation of situation, our roh, the moral violation. Emotions are not our enemies. Yeah, some people, when they feel sad, angry, fear, they think that is a problem. Yeah, emotion are not enemies. If you, I would like to invite you to read the poem by Jalaluddin Rumi, The Guest House. It talks about how all the emotion is our guest, and the house is us, our us human being, yeah, our body. So different emotion will come and go. It's temporary, as how our guest. So emotions are not enemies. It's like they are signals. They are signals. But the good thing, they can be regulated. They can also become dysregulated. Yeah. Again, we want to find balance, equilibrium, or i'tidal. So let's talk further about our drive theory from the perspective of TIIP. Drive theory in TIIP explains the tension. Explain the tension. Every human experience a pull. Yeah, a pull of what? A pull towards pleasure, a pull towards dominance. Sometimes we love to dominate things, right? I mean, like as a mother, I want to make sure that my children follow my instructions sometimes. So we have a pull towards dominance, towards ego. But at the same time, because we have roh, so we have a pull toward transcendence. a pull towards meaning, a pull towards discipline, and psychological distress, mental health issues, mental health problems, mental disorders often reflects imbalances, imbalances in these competing pools. So TIIP wanted to explain that nothing wrong with this pool because we have all that domains and that need to happen. But when it is imbalances, that is when we have psychological distress, mental health problems, or up to mental disorders. Okay, let's take an addiction case. I think many of us have some addiction, and addiction may not be substance only. Behavioral addiction such as scrolling our smartphone now. Many people have that addiction. So drive theory explains tension. And as you can see in our slide now, let's imagine a behavioral addiction, like scrolling phone, and watch certain platform. Okay, so the nerve, why we are doing that? Nerve seeks pleasure. Sometimes we want to avoid something, we go to our phone and started scrolling. So nerves would like to seek pleasure. And akal even rationalize it. Okay lah, why not? You are tired, right? You have the right to be happy too. That is how our akal try to rationalize thing, and emotion fluctuate between indulgence, indulging on it, but at the same time have some guilt. When I should stop, So emotion fluctuates between guilt and indulgence. And at that time, roh becomes neglected. And because roh become neglected, we may not remember our God while scrolling and watching certain things, right? When roh become neglected, our qalb darkens. So this is how TIIP explain. So in this case, the multi-domain of human being become imbalanced. It become imbalanced. It is not merely we say that, oh, you are having poor self-control here. You're having poor behavioral inclination. Your nerve is poor here. It is not only about self-control, about our behavior, about our nerve. The domain, the multi-domain that we have currently are imbalanced. Okay. So in this lecture, I also would like to speak about the process of change from TIIP perspective. And this is not meant only for people with mental health problem, for people with mental disorders. All of us would want to change to something better in our life, right? Be it to pray early, be it to pray tahajjud, be it to eat well, be it to speak well. All of us would like to change. So let's look at this and how can we take something from it, and hopefully it can be helpful for us towards our betterment. So in TIIP, change is not random. Okay, nothing is like random, automatic, no. Change is not random. Change is developmental. When we talk about developmental, it has progress, it has regress. It has progress, it has regress. That's normal. And it unfolds in sequence. First, according to the TIIP, in explaining the process of change, first come inqiyad, our commitment. If we don't have commitment, how come we want to change? Then inkishaf, our awareness, our introspective self-awareness. Then i'tidal, the rebalancing, rebalancing of the domain. and finally the ittihad, the integration. So these are not techniques, yeah. These are basically our goals lah. In therapy, we call it patient goals. And think of it like learning to swim. Okay, first, we must agree to enter the water. Some people have phobia. First, we must agree to enter the water, and then we're aware how our body reacts. Like for people who have water phobic, they can see how their body reacts. Then slowly we adjust our movements. We adjust our movement, we adjust our swimming skills, yeah, and then eventually swimming becomes more natural. Natural is the integrative unity. We don't even need to think on how to swim. And if a patient tries to jump to balance without awareness, for example, yeah, want to improve, but then it is no awareness, it will fail. If they try to integrate without rebalancing the domain, for example, they know that they must change, yeah, they are committed to change, but then not balancing their nafs, not balancing their ihsas, it become akal only, intellectual only. Okay, so each stage will prepare the next, and this structured progression is what make the IIP developmental rather than it is a reaction. Yeah, it is a developmental. Change require process. When require process, require time. It involve progress and regress. Let's look at each of the four stages of change. Yeah, the inqiyat, the commitment. Inqiyat is often underestimated. When I supervise my clinical psychology trainee, sometimes we don't even ask about whether they can commit or not, their motivation, how is their motivation, their level of commitment. And many clients come to therapy just want to ventilate, wanting to have relief, yeah. They want to talk to us. I mean, like, therapists know how to actively listen. So this is a space for me to not being judged, and you just listen. And they don't want to change. They come to therapy because they want relief, but not change. Then it's not therapy. Yeah, it's not therapy. Therapy involve goals. Goals involve change. They may say, I want my anxiety gone. I want to be cured from anxiety, zero anxiety. But they do not want to face what maintains it, what need to be done to regulate the feeling of anxiety. Inqiyat means compliance. Yeah, compliance. Compliant, trust in therapies, compliance, but not blind obedience. Inqiyat means willingness. Yeah, at the early of my session, I normally will inform my client that therapy is not only about you feel relief. There are sessions that you feel relief, but there are sessions that you feel challenged by me. There are sessions that you feel uncomfortable. When that uncomfortable happen, that is a starting point of change. And I hope that you are willing to go through both. Only if they are willing, then we may have a commitment contract, therapy commitment contract. So this is your role, this is my role as a therapist. Okay. So inqiyat, commitment, means saying, I'm prepared to look at myself honestly, even if it is uncomfortable. For example, a client with avoidance patterns may intellectually understand their issue. Many of us are like that too. But unless they are willing to confront discomfort, the process does not move. This is where murabatah. I will explain about murabatah later in our later slides. The therapeutic alliance, the mechanism of change by practitioner become critical. If the patient trusts the therapist, they will endure the difficulty. Therapeutic alliance is needed. If the patient trusts the therapist, they will endure the difficulty together, and without inqiyad, commitment, even the most sophisticated intervention will fail, including TIIP, including CBT, ACT, DBT, MBCT, whatever T. Yeah, and commitment precedes transformation. Now let's look at inkishaf. Yeah, I'm looking at my watch now, the 1:18. Let's look at the inkishaf. Inkishaf means unveiling. Yeah, self-awareness, unveiling. It is the moment when something becomes clear that was previously suppressed or hidden. Many of us also know how to do it because we are busy people. We suppress, we hide it by becoming more and more active, becoming more and more busy. Many people are unaware of the internal logic of their suffering. Yeah, internal logic of their suffering. For example, someone might say, "I just have bad luck in relationship. Like I'm the first marriage failed, second marriage failed. I just have bad luck in relationship." And through guided reflection, they may discover a pattern. Yeah, patient, client, they withdraw emotionally whenever vulnerability appears. When they started to see that, when it started to become at the surface level, they may try to withdraw emotionally. Or someone says, I'm just an anxious person. But through exploration in therapy, they realize their anxiety spikes whenever they fear disappointing authority figures. Yeah, we started to see pattern when we talk when self-awareness happened, and that insight shifts responsibility rather than put it external. That now become more internal, and when awareness increase, our agency, our willingness to change increase too. Yeah, and inkishaf is powerful because once a person sees the pattern clearly, it becomes difficult to ignore. Oh, I also contribute to the problem, for example. It's me, but the good thing, something can be done. But awareness alone is not enough. That leads us to the next stage, yeah? I'tidal, the equilibrium. So i'tidal is the restoration of balance. This is where active rebalancing begins. For example, if someone has excessive fear, khauf, yeah, they may suffer from anxiety. But we do not eliminate fear entirely, yeah. We cannot eliminate fear entirely. We want to do that, we need to bring out our amygdala from our brain. But we balance the fear with hope, raja, yeah, raja, hope. If someone has excessive anger, we cultivate patience. If someone has excessive control, we cultivate surrender. This is sometimes called reversion therapy, inclining toward the positive opposite. Yeah, it is not suppression, it is just recalibration. Let's think of a thermostat. Yeah, if it is set too high or too low, system malfunction. So, i'tidal, adjust the setting. This stage requires effort. The effort is mujahadah, intentional struggle. Okay, intentional. We intentionally understand that this is mujahadah, our struggle. And through repeated practice here, riadat, yeah, the balance become more stable. Okay, the final one, ittihad, the integration. Ittihad is the final stage, yeah, the integration. At this point, the inner domains are no longer competing intensely. Akal supports ruh, naf is trained rather than dominating, emotions are proportionate, qalb is stable, the person no longer swings between extreme, yeah, no longer swing between extreme. For example, someone who previously oscillated between harsh self-criticism and indulgence now shows consistency when they are at ittihad stage. And this is beyond symptom reduction. Yeah, as I have informed in the first lecture, a person may have reduced anxiety earlier, but here they become internally coherent. So not only symptom reduction, internal balance, internal coherent. Integration produce, and when we have this integrative unity, it will produce resilience. So people says that we need to be resilient. We need to be resilient. How to produce resilience? Through integration, through balance of all these domains. Yeah. They're not dependent on therapists anymore. This is where they leave the therapy. Therapy see them maybe like after 6 months or after 1 year. They can recognize, the patient can recognize imbalance early and self-correct. They become their own therapists. And that is the ultimate aim in therapy. Not just relief, but internal unity. So I need to be a bit fast here. I only have about 7 minutes. That is the process of change in our patient. How about therapists? Yeah, therapists. Us. Before any transformation happen, there must be safety. Okay? Patient feel safe to be with us. The trust, therapeutic alliance trust. Murabatah refers to the formation of a therapeutic bond, not merely rapport, but a structured ethical alliance. Yeah, that is why I prefer to have a therapist commitment contract. Client have it signed, I have it signed. And in spiritual tradition, there is a bai'ah. Yeah, that is spiritual tradition. In therapy, we don't do bai'ah, we do contractual bond, the therapy commitment contract. So this is like informed consent lah, yeah, informed consent and therapeutic alliance in therapy. The patient must trust the process enough to endure discomfort. Yeah, they are giving themselves to you. If you don't have patient, you're not mental health professional, just think about your significant other, your children, your wife, your husband. Without alliance, murabatah, even the best intervention fails. Murabatah prepares the ground for inkishaf, yeah, the second stage. All right, so let's look at the mukashafah. Mukashafah means unveiling. The therapist creates a reflective mirror for the patient. Many patients believe my anxiety is random, my anger justified, I'm just unlucky. Through guided reflection, pattern will emerge. Yeah, pattern will emerge. It become surface. For example, a patient discovered that every conflict triggers shame, not anger, and this awareness is inkishaf. Without mukashafah, yeah, the uncovering stage by the practitioner, change will remain superficial only, not internal, not deep. This stage is normally diagnostic in nature and also prepare the patient to the next stage. Sorry. Mu'alajah. Mu'alajah is the phase of treatment lah. Yeah, before the phase of treatment, the mukashafah, the murabatah need to happen first. Now we are in mu'alajah. We move from awareness to action. If fear is excessive, we introduce hope. If avoidance dominates, we introduce confrontation. Yeah, this is where sometimes they become uncomfortable with therapists. If indulgence dominate, we try to introduce some restraint. This is not punishment. Of course, therapy is not punishment. Therapy from the IIP perspective is to learn to recalibrate the domain. For example, a patient with avoidance must gradually confront feared situation. And this feels uncomfortable, definitely. But discomfort is the pathway to i'tidal, the equilibrium. The aim here is takhliyah, removal of psycho-spiritual imbalance. Mu'alajah, restore i'tidal, the equilibrium, but therapy does not end here. Finally, the final one is muwasalah. Muwasalah means continuation. Many therapies stop when symptoms reduce. But TIIP does not stop at symptom removal. After takhliyah, removal of pathology, we move toward tahliyah, cultivation of virtue. For example, if social anxiety is reduced, the next stage is strengthening family bonds, providing services or khidmah, generosity. Integration occur when all domains cooperate. The person no longer oscillate, swing between extremes. And this is ittihad, internal unity. The person becomes self-regulating. Therapy become internalized. They become their own therapists. Okay. So as a conclusion, let us synthesize what we have covered today. In TIIP, the human being is a unified metaphysical essence expressed through multiple interacting domain. The 5 interacting domains, the akal, nafs, ruh, qalb, and ihsas. And distress is not random. It emerges from imbalance, often from competing drives within ourselves. Yeah? And competing drive is natural. And change is not accidental. It needs to unfold sequentially, yeah, commitment, awareness, equilibrium, then integration. The goal is not merely symptom reduction. The goal is internal, yeah, internal coherence. When the domains no longer compete with one another, but it support, yeah, it support one another. It become a unity. In unity. Now, the important question is, what does this actually look like in clinical practice? So next session, inshallah, we will examine a real case of religious scrupulosity, and you will see how this ontological model guides formulation and intervention step by step. This is the case that I've seen, because theory will become meaningful only when it transforms reality. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all from me. Dr. Rashad, over to you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dr. Jamilah. A very systematic presentation. And the last slide in the last part, I was looking,
Recording
talking
stopped.
about the consolidation as the last muasala. And I think that's a very important part of the treatment, right? Because then we can maintain the gains that we have had with the patient. Otherwise, if we just don't change and substitute those behaviors that cause the problem, then they can revert, isn't it? It can
Correct.
lead to
If we
reversal.
just focus on the symptom reduction without targeting the internal part and balancing the 5 domains and cultivating virtues, they will become our patient probably forever.
Yeah, so that involves lifestyle changes, right? To some extent for them to maintain the
Exactly.
new equilibrium, right?
Yes, yes. So it is not only about psyche. It doesn't talk about emotion only. So the nerves, such as our lifestyle, eat in moderation. We also talk that in therapy, because we know that if the nurse is too excessive, it may also affect their mental health.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to share the slides,
Oh,
the
sure.
beautiful slides with the participants later. Jazakallah khair. And inshallah, we will receive the questions from the students and participants. We will share them with you, Doctor. And when you have time, you can respond to them either in writing